Bamski, Balamski. That is how quality the equipment on this channel is. Okay, in case you didn't know, I'm getting pumped right now. I'm excited. We're gonna talk about stuff. We're gonna talk about drift, how I got into drift, how you can get into drift. Not really. I don't know. I guess just a little background into me. If we want to go way back, I have always been into cars. I mean, at least since I was like 16 or so. For me, it was more like the aesthetics of cars, like in big American cars, lowriders, hot rods, American stuff. Specifically, American GM stuff has always been my bread and butter. In high school, I had a Chevelle, and I moved on to big body stuff like Impalas, yada, 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 so on and so forth. But even before that, I was playing Gran Turismo, Need for Speed, Cruising USA. These are probably the games that got me interested in cars before I was 16. So, and then I never really got away from car video games either, even if they were focused in cars that I wasn't as big a fan of. Need for Speed Underground, Dub City, all these games I played. I kept playing those video games. I also kept messing with cars. But it was more like I was big into 50s cars. I still am big into 50s cars, but I'm not messing with them as much now. I got into the sim thing, and I was playing sim for a while. And the reason I got into sim, I think, is because I was playing a lot of Forza Horizon 3 and then 4 consecutively. But I bought an Xbox 360 specifically, not 360, Xbox One, specifically for Horizon 3. And I played the crap out of that, and then 4. And then that's when I started thinking I wanted to make a sim, so I could drive these cars for real. You know how that whole thing went. Anyway, playing Forza games, and then I find myself in Forza just pretty much just drifting. I end up just drifting all the time, and I'm having a blast with it. And then it kind of dawns on me like, hey, maybe we should actually go to one of these drift events one time and see what it's about. I've been to drag races, dirt track races, stock cars, sprint cars, dirt bikes. I don't know. I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of stuff, but I've been to lots of motorsport events and I liked them. They're fun to go to and stuff. But then I think when everything changed is when I went to my first Formula Drift event. So the first drift event I ever went to was Formula Drift in 2019. Now, I know that's a lot later than a lot of people that are in drift got into drift. I guess I thought that like the guys doing donuts in parking lots with their crappy rear-wheel drive cars were drifters. These are not drifters. These are guys that want to be drifters and have not tried to actually get involved with drifting yet. That's a whole other subject. So I went to my first FD event in 2019, and I remember walking into the stands. I live in Washington, so that would be FD Seattle, the Evergreen Speedway. And you kind of walk in the stands and the track's right in front of you. And I walk out there, and I don't remember who it was. I wouldn't have known back then anyway, because I didn't know who any of these drivers were. But two of these cars just come raging by. And the smoke and everything. And I kind of immediately was like, what is this? Why have I not been coming to this? Why have I not got involved with this, you know? And I was immediately hooked after that. Like I said, I had been to other motorsports events before, but it always felt kind of like the jocks seeing who was faster type thing, because that's what most motorsports are. And then this to me felt like these felt like the skater kids with cars. They were just out there trying to look cool and having fun. And this was even at the FD level. So after that, I was hooked, and then we started going to local events, like the grassroots pro-am type stuff. Evergreen was running a pro-am series back then, which they kind of still do. that's a whole nother subject also. But we started going to all those, and we were watching the grassroots, or excuse me, the Pro-Am series at the time, and Christina and I were there. And the winner of that round was Tyler Mayer, and he won by quite a bit. And then he goes up to the podium, and they were like, "We see you." What he was giving his speech, and he essentially said that he hasn't hardly driven his car at all, that he's just been on the sim. And I was kind of like, what? And then I turned to Christina, and she kind of gave me this look when she was like, here we go. And then I knew it was possible for some of those skills to translate. Long story short, I had her find out how to get a hold of him, which was Instagram. Turns out Instagram is like the drifter connection highway. I didn't know this at the time. That's why I spent a lot of time on Instagram the last few years. But anyway, she finds him on Instagram, and she's like, oh, here's his thing. Here's how to get a hold of him. So I make an Instagram. I guess I already had one, but I didn't really use it. I messaged him. I was like, hey, I saw you run, blah, blah, blah. I sim also. How can I go from here to there? And he's like, you need to get a Seto, get this car pack, start there. And that's the best way to get started. So I was like, okay, I did that. I drove with him a few times on sim. And then I think it was about that time I was also looking for a car, because after we saw him win and we had been to all these events, I told Christina, hey, at the time I had the Civic. It was almost like a meme of a car, because I wanted to have a little ricey car that was loud, that was a 5-speed, and that was kind of comfy and just super low with stretched wheels and tires. I don't know. It's just I had a itch, so I scratched it. Anyway, I had that car. I decided I was going to sell that car, and that I was going to buy another car. And then I found my BMW, the one that is now Christina's BMW. It's a 92 325. And I found it for, I think it was $1,500, and I think I paid $1,200 for it. See if I can find some pictures. If so, I'll put them up somewhere over here. But I found that car with every intention of just starting a drift project. I didn't think that car was going to work as it was. But at that same time, we were still going to local events, and I had the BMW, and I started talking to these guys. I remember talking specifically to a guy with it was a 328 sedan, but about what he had done and where I should start, this, that, and the other. And he's the one that told me, hey, you want to get on Instagram and you want to look up, anyway, all of our local tracks. And so I did that. I immediately followed local tracks, and I started following the drifters from those events, the local guys. We went to Park and checked out Final Bout there. Actually would turn out to be the last Final Bout that Park ever hosted. And that was a fun event. We also, I don't know if it was it was around that same time I went to Spirit Peaks. And we didn't actually even go in, because we just happened to be in that area on a road trip. We just drove by, and then I kind of stood by the fence and watched the guys in there driving. I told Christina at that point, hey, when the car is ready, this is where I want to come drive at. And then shortly after that, I got the car running. Turns out it was like a blown heater core. It was super simple. But I got the car running, and I didn't think it was going to run under, like, be drivable the way that it was. And at the same time, I was curious about Spirit Peak. So I had found a YouTube video by a guy I later became friends with. His name's Jams. Jams Drifts was his YouTube channel, and he was drifting a BMW 318, which is the 4-cylinder BMW, at Spirit, pretty well, actually. And I thought, if he can drift this 4-cylinder, then I can for sure drift the 325. Okay, so then I knew it was time to, like, really start getting the car ready, that I was gonna do this. A race seat and then a welded diff. That was all that car had done to it. And then I drove it to my dad's house to see if it would fit in his enclosed trailer, which we did not think a car would fit in. Turns out it did. Okay, we get everything loaded up. I go to Spirit Peaks for the first time, and I decide that I'm not ready to go out on track yet, that I want to hit the skid pad. And the way Spirit Peaks used to be at the time, the skid pad was set behind the track, kind of. So you had to drive like half of the track to get to a skid pad. So we got on track. I'm obviously super nervous. I'm kind of a nervous person, oddly enough. Anyway, get out on track, and then I go through the first few corners, and I'm able to drift the first few corners. Not greatly, but I do it. And then I go to the skid pad. I think I do like 1 or 2 donuts, but then I know that I have to drive the rest of the track back out. So I leave the skid pad and I drift the rest of the track and decide I'm just going to go around again. And from then on, I just did lap after lap after lap. And we had an awesome day. Once I got out of my mechanical sympathy brain and just started driving it like it was a video game, it went really well.
There's a good one. There's a good one. Hey! That's a really good one.
And just, foot to the floor, try and keep it off rev limiter. And the thing drove great. It did awesome. We had a great time. We're loading it up. I remember coming back from Spirit Peaks that day. Christina was all in at that point too. And we were in the truck and she goes, okay, so how much money do we need to put the actual parts on the car? Meaning like angle kit, that kind of stuff. And I knew at that point that she was hooked too. And, over time, I kept upgrading that car. Nothing major, but it did get an angle kit. I'm not going to get into all the parts and all that kind of stuff, but it got like a cheap eBay chip and an angle kit, and that car just worked and worked and worked.
I didn't think it only had 2. I guess I'm riding them a lot harder than I was.
You have gotten so much better. Holy shit.
Yeah. She's done so.
It a few times. We wrecked it into people that I'm friends with. We wrecked people that I were not friends with, wrecked into me. And that's all just kind of part of the game. We drove that, but we put laps and laps and laps on that car. And then Christina really wanted to get involved also. So she started looking for a car.
There you go, there you go. Go, 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 go. Get out.
just kept finding lots of kind of not great cars for way too much money. And I was also ready for a bigger car at that point anyway. So that's when I said, hey, let's make this your car. Also conveniently right after I had wrecked it again. Not terribly, but a little bit. But I said, hey, we'll fix this car, set it up for you. This will be your car. I'm going to start building another car. And that's when I started building my E36. During this time, I had bought some parts off of Jamie, Jams Drifts, that I had told you about. Because that car had died, he put it in a wall. And it kind of became not really a parts car, but kind of a parts car. And I had bought a couple things. He got a hold of me and said that, hey, I'm going to be parting this car out. Let me know what you want. And yada yada. And I kind of said, well, how much do you want for the whole car? And I don't remember what we settled on. I know it was pretty cheap, especially by today's standards. Anyway, and I'm still thankful for that, but I bought that car from Jamie, which actually became my car now. And that car, without getting into every single detail, is it's an E36 with a Super T10 4-speed and 6-liter LS, or 6-liter iron block Vortec LS, whatever you want to call it. Okay, we good?
Send it. Just keep an eye on that oil pressure gauge.
My thing with this whole thing is, if you really want to get involved with drift, the biggest thing you can do is just start going to events. Even if you don't have the car yet, even if you don't know anyone, just start going to events. The pits are always open. These guys always want to talk about their cars.
Future Travis coming at you here. I finished this video and I realized I'm probably doing a big disservice to the video, even though it already is pretty lengthy, for not mentioning just how awesome the drift community is. From day one, going in the pits or even going out on track, never once did I feel any kind of gatekeeping or ego or anything like that from a group of badasses, honestly. Everyone out there is just trying to help each other out, trying to elevate each other. For the most part, no one cares if you have a $20,000 car or a $200 car. If you're respecting the track and respecting the other drivers out there, I've never met a more welcoming group of people, and that's me being honest. So I have to give a big thank you to the drift community and everyone I've met along the way. Some of these guys that I met at first or second events, I'm best friends with to this day, and they had no clue who I was or what I was about, but they just knew that I was interested in the sport, and I was stoked, and they were stoked.
And there's a good chance that maybe you just help one of these guys work on his cars. Ride-alongs are very common at these things. You know, you ask nice, and most people will just give you a ride-along. And you can get very involved before you ever have a car. And if you do have a car, just start going to events. That's the biggest thing, because a lot of people that think that they drift or they know what drift is that have never been to an event don't actually drift. And that's my biggest takeaway, is that if you really want to get involved with being in drift, you just go do it. Don't spend all your time in the garage building a car when you've when you don't know exactly what you're building, or you think you know what you're building because you've been on YouTube a lot. Ironically, once you start going to these events, you'll realize what you need to do, the upgrades you need to make that make sense. You are constantly working on whatever you're drifting. Even if it's a newer, nicer car, you're still working on it a lot.
I don't think it's supposed to do that.
I change all my own tires by hand, all that stuff. And this is all probably a whole nother video, but I'm just saying that's my journey from sim to drift. And if you can do the same thing, that'd be awesome. And you know, there's my 2 cents. If you have questions or specifics, things you want to know about the cars, get a hold of me, leave a comment, whatever, and I'll try and make that known as well. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. I hope I got across all the points that I wanted to get across in there. My brain's kind of scrambled as I'm making this video. So anyway, thanks. I'm glad you guys were here. That's a terrible ending. Cut that out. Thanks. Oh my God. Or maybe not. I don't know. Hopefully it was entertaining anyway. I guess that's all it really needs to be. Until next time. See ya.